Are you looking to scale your income this year with a newsletter in Kajabi? Let me tell you, when Kajabi first launched this newsletter product, I was like, why though? Because I didn't see a huge difference between email marketing and a newsletter, but as I've deep dived into it, I realized that having a newsletter can be so much more powerful than just sending emails. It really allows you to nurture community and also scale your income by creating paywalled content that you don't share anywhere else and really build out community. I think it's an awesome feature, and I'm going to deep dive into it with you today so that by the end you will have a beautiful newsletter that you can use to nurture your audience and make more money in your business. Are you ready? Let's dive in. What's up, it's Danie. If you want to follow along on this tutorial and you haven't started using Kajabi yet, be sure to use my free 30-day trial. That also gives you immediate access to my 0 to 10K course roadmap that teaches you how to make your first $10,000 in course sales. Okay, let's get into the tutorial. The first step is you're going to go to your products and hit newsletter, and then you are going to click get started. This is very exciting for us. Next, you're going to add a title and a brief description. Now, for the title, I recommend that you use something catchy that kind of gives an idea of what the newsletter is going to be about. My newsletter is going to be all about scaling up your digital business, so I'm going to call it Scaling Up with Danie. It's pretty cute, right? I don't know. Next, you're going to add a brief description of what people can expect from your newsletter. So I'm going to add that in. And then you're going to add a thumbnail image. Now, the dimensions of this are the same as like a YouTube thumbnail. So I recommend just going into Canva, hitting YouTube thumbnail because those are the same dimensions. And then picking a nice photo that kind of goes with your branding and then adding the name of the course. You can see here, this is the design I came up with. I just took a photo of me and I made the transparency a little darker and added the text of the name. So I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to upload it here. Beautiful. Okay, then you'll hit next. Now, next you can add a paid newsletter tier. If you're not sure if you want your newsletter to be paid or free, I recommend to start off with it being free, but then eventually as it gets better and better, then make paid content that's like higher level that people can then buy into. And I'll show you in a second how you can create subscriber only content where people have to subscribe to be able to read it, but also paid view content only too, where people can read just the first couple sentences and then they have to pay for your subscription in order to read the rest of it, which you may know that like a lot of newspaper sites do that, which drives me up the wall when I'm trying to read and they're asking me for $1 to subscribe. No, thank you. I'll find it for free somewhere else. But that's with the news. This is different because it's you, your community, people will be willing to buy into it the more value that you give. So I recommend we check on the offer paid newsletter, and then you can pick if you want it to be a one-time payment or multi-pay subscription. I kind of recommend if you're gonna do this consistently to make it a subscription. So I'm gonna have it be a subscription. I'll say $19 one time every month, or you could make it every year. And from there, I will hit next. Now from here, it's going to automatically write you a couple draft posts using their AI. I recommend that you don't use these, but you could take them as ideas and kind of write your own. With the newsletter, it's super important that it's written in your voice, that it's your ideas, that it really connects with your audience, or it's just not gonna do well. So you'll see here though, we have overview. This is where you can see those who've subscribed. You'll also be able to see engagement and the health of how things are doing within the newsletter. Okay, now, once we're in this page, the first thing you're probably gonna have to do is update your browser. So you may see something that says your site theme is Encore, it may be different than mine, and this limits the amount of customization that you can do on your newsletter website pages. And so you'll have to come up and click this eye here, and then once you click that eye, you will be able to update your theme to customize the pages. And when you click that, it'll take you so where you can scroll down and see you're able to update whatever your theme is so that it's ready for a newsletter, because this is a new Kajabi product. So once you update it, you can then see that you are good to go and we're ready to actually start building this out. So once you've gone through and you've updated your theme, if you had to do that, if you saw that little information up top there, the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna click these 3 buttons and hit settings. From here, you can scroll down, and here you will enable if you want comments on or off. You can see your paywall offer, and then you definitely want to add in here SEO and social sharing. This is what's going to show up in search and allow this newsletter to also show up in search like Google or Bing or whatever people are using. I don't know if people use Bing. I don't know where that came from. So I'm going to add in my title and page description. Then I'm going to upload the same file that I had, and it's looking great. I can hit save. From there, I'm going to go back up and hit the name of my newsletter to go back to my main newsletter page. Now, I recommend starting out by writing 3 posts for your newsletter. So let's talk about actually writing a newsletter post, because this is super important. So if you are starting with a brand new newsletter, having 3 kind of helps. Like if you send people to the first one, they can then click through the other 2. It makes the page look a little bit more interesting than if you just start off with 1. So I recommend starting off with 3 or 1, but make it like uber juicy. Okay, so I think deciding between those 2 things just to get people kind of hooked into it. It should be really high level stuff. And so you can click into one of these drafts, and you can see here I can click on this. And when we click into a newsletter post, you'll see it says post here and then also settings here. So let's start with settings. You'll see you can pick a post thumbnail that is the same dimensions as the newsletter thumbnail, but this is just for the post. So you can use kind of the same style of things if you want. Let's see, this post is on embracing flexibility. That's such a lame one. Let's see if I can pick a better. Let's do passive income strategies. I like that one better. I know this is just an example, but still. So I could duplicate this and do boom. Okay, so in settings then I could add a thumbnail, and then I could add a tags list. A tags list is going to be helpful if your audience is like searching for certain topics within your newsletter. I'll put a couple here. Then the author, and then I can choose if I want to hide it from the web or not. So it says this removes the post from your publicly visible newsletter feed. I don't know necessarily why you would want to do that, because we can put a paywall. So if it's something you don't want everyone to be able to read, I'll show you how to do that in a second, but I still recommend that it shows up so your paying members can find it. Then you'll add a URL slug. So we could say, this is the part that comes after the backslash, and then the page title, and then a short description of what the article is all about. For a social image, I'm just going to choose the same one as the one above. I'll make the comments as visible. And then you'll see we've got the email subject, and you can change what preview text you want to show up, which this email will get sent out when this is published to your newsletter. And you can decide if you want to be sent to all subscribers, just a segment of your subscribers, and you can choose who, or only free subscribers or only paid subscribers. So this makes it super easy to decipher who you want it to go to. So I'll just put all and then hit save. From here, once your settings are done, you can actually preview what it's going to look like. And you'll see here we've got our photo and then some of the info. So this page still doesn't look so good. We're gonna have to edit that in a second. But in terms of settings, that's looking really great. I'm gonna then hit post. And you'll see here, this is where you can go in and you can add text. So let's say I want to add on to this. I'll just hit enter, and then I will hit this plus button. And this is where you can add a bulleted list, an image. What's super cool is you can actually add Adobe Express images, which I'm thinking about maybe actually switching from Canva to Adobe Express. I think it could maybe offer even more than Canva. But you'll see here, you can actually create media here and then add it into your Kajabi newsletter. Isn't that so cool? That's so cool. You can also add headings, add a YouTube video. So you'll see here, I could add in my URL, and then boom, it's gonna add it into the newsletter. Really cool. Something else that's just kind of a pro tip that you could do for your newsletter, if you do create any long form content, you can go into your Kajabi. You can use the Creator Studio to get a transcript of one of your videos. Let's say it was like this 10 things I learned as a YouTube channel manager. I could go in and I wanted to get a transcript of it. So I already did that with Creator Studio. I could take that, I could go into ChatGPT and I could say, take this content and make it into a newsletter format, keep the info the same and keep it in my voice. Boom, I add that in and then it will write out for me a newsletter. Work smarter, not harder, right? I just think though, if you're gonna do a paid newsletter, that it has to be even higher level than something like this. You want it to be something that you're not necessarily talking about everywhere else. I think that the best newsletters are more like intimate behind the scenes and more intricate tips, in my opinion. If you want people to pay for it, that's kind of what you have to do. So you could even take something like this and then take it to the next level, even more so, but just a little pro hack for you there. Now, let's say that this video, I only wanted my subscribers to be able to read it. So what I could go in and do is I could hit this enter, hit plus, and I could add in a subscriber break. So people don't have to pay for this content, but they have to at least be subscribed, i.e. give me their email address, which we know is priceless, to read it. And so you can see, you can pick that people can read the top, but if they have to log in to read the bottom. So you could add something like that in, super helpful. Or what you could do is if you're like, no, this content is only for paid newsletter people, then you hit paywall break. Boom. Then people only who've paid in can read these. And so you have to both be logged in and a paying member in order to read this article. And so that's how you can decipher between the two. Pretty cool. Thanks, Kajabi. This newsletter stuff is pretty cool, I must say. Now, when it's ready to go live, you can preview it as a paid subscriber or as a guest. So let's say I preview it as a guest. This is what it will look like. So this is a post for paying subscribers only. You can upgrade or subscribe to keep reading this post. From here, of course, I'd want to make sure that I add more helpful info and a sign off, but it's looking really nice. Now, once we've finished, we've optimized everything in settings, we've written the post, you can hit publish and it will show the audience of that only subscribers will be able to read this full article because that's the setting we put on it, and it will show the email that is going to get sent out to people. You can click here to edit the email settings as well, and if we scroll down, this is where we were before, where you've got the email subject and who it's sending out to. But if it's everything is looking good, we can hit publish, and either you can publish right now or you can schedule and send it later. And I always recommend to send emails early in the morning. So people are generally checking their emails like first thing. So I would schedule it for like 5 a.m. and then the next day you can hit continue and review and then publish and send. Woo, you did it, your first newsletter. But dun dun dun, before you do that, we have to make it not look so ugly because it's looking not good so far when we go to look at the newsletter altogether. So I want you to go to hit newsletter. And this is what just like the page looks like when people log into it. And I recommend you can see logo style. You can hide it if you want. You can make it inline, default. You can show the title or you can take it away. I already have it in my photo, so don't necessarily need it. You can then go and see the subscribe information. I recommend changing that to your brand colors if you want the button to be full or auto. And then I recommend to change the background to make it not look so boring. I could select an image and I could do something like that if I wanted instead. When you go into the newsletter listings, you can see you can have them as a list where they're just like article by article, or a 2-column grid where it's going to put two next to each other, or just have the media on the left-hand side like this, or media on the right-hand side. So whatever you kind of think looks best. I actually really like the media on the left-hand side. I think that's nice. And this is why I think and recommend that you start with like at least 3 newsletters to kind of just have out there. You can then promote them by email, like week by week, but to have 3 just kind of up there when people go, I think looks a little bit more put together. And then you'll see the social links. You can add that or delete it. I don't think that you would necessarily need these things, but you can kind of move them around if you want. I think the search block maybe looks better on the right. And then if you do keep the social links, you want to make sure that you actually add in your links or they will just go to Kajabi's. So for me, I'm not using Facebook, but I will use Instagram and YouTube. From there, those will both show up, and you can always change the social icon color. So if you want, I could also do that in my branding colors, which I think just looks a little bit nicer. You can change how you want the text to be aligned in the center or on the side. And that's looking really good. Make sure that you hit that save button as you keep going or you'll lose all your work. You can also, in this newsletter listing sections, add a social share button to share on social media. So if you wanted to do something, I might make the button just a little bit smaller, and that's just also something kind of nice that you could do, but I don't see my audience sharing these as much, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. Now from here, you can see they've got a newsletter hero where people can then also subscribe again. You could, because I have it up at the top, I don't necessarily need it down here. So I could potentially hide that if I wanted to, but if I did want to show it, I can go in and I could hide the logo, and I could also just take away the title and subscription and just have there be people where people can subscribe on the bottom, just because they could already subscribe also at the top. I could also change the color of what I want this to be. So maybe I want it to be that off-white color like the top is, or maybe I just want to keep it all white to kind of just help it all blend in a little bit nicer. It's looking a lot better. I can hit that preview page now, and we can get an idea of what it looks like. So much better than before, am I right? Oof! You can also see here what it would look like on your phone or a tablet. From there, I also recommend going to the newsletter sign up page and doing the exact same thing. So going through and editing any of these little settings that you want. If you want there to be a background color, which I would probably add in. For me, I like to use one of my branding backgrounds. I hired a branding coach, and let me tell you, it was very helpful as someone who branding doesn't always come naturally to. That makes it look sort of nice. I can go in and also change the button color to my branding background, and it's looking a lot better now. So there we go. I can edit my sign up page. And you'll see here, you can also go into the newsletter page also from up top here, which we had just edited. And I could go to the newsletter subscribe page as well from here. And it also shows us the same thing. So we've done the newsletter, the sign up page, and we need to do the post page. I'm sorry. So if we go to the newsletter post page is the last thing that we do. And you'll see this is what it currently looks like. You could add in like a little about you section, change the color if you want to make it stand out. And then you can always kind of decide where you want it to go, but you can get creative with this page if you want, but I recommend just keeping it more simple. Once you've edited any settings that you want to in here, you'll hit save, and you should be good to go. And now what you can do is you can come up here to the 3 buttons and hit share. You can then get your newsletter link or the subscribe link, and when you put it into your page, you'll see, boom, then people can go. They can then sign up. You can see here when someone fills out this form and they hit subscribe, they will get sent an email. So you can see here, boom, I'm sent an email and it says, welcome to Skilling Up with Danie, and has a little information about the newsletter that AI already wrote out based off of the description of my newsletter. Kajabi is so awesome. And then you could click here to view the newsletter, and boom, people are opted in. But what I recommend is changing the text and writing it in your own voice. So how do you do that? Well, you can't actually do it here. I didn't figure out a way to be able to configure it here. What you'll have to do is just go back into your Kajabi dashboard area. You're going to go to marketing and then click on forms. Now from there, you'll see there is a Scaling Up with Danie form that, again, Kajabi's AI already created for us. So I'll click here on that. You'll see you can have double opt-in or single opt-in, but if you scroll down, you could also add into the form field if you want people's name, which I recommend. I always recommend having people's name, so I'm gonna actually do that. and have people put in their name and then their email. You could also add in other things that you wanted, like country or how you heard about the newsletter. I don't know, whatever it may be, but keep it simple is better. Then from there, you'll see it already set up an automation for you that's going to get sent out, and that's what we just saw. So you'll click on edit, and this is where you can really personalize that email of whatever you want to say about your amazing new newsletter. Maybe you could add in a fun GIF or meme or I don't know, whatever it may be, and then you can test it out and hit save, and you're good to go on that. But now you know how to create an awesome newsletter, either paid or free, in Kajabi. I hope that this is so helpful for you. The next big thing to remember is once you get started, just keep it consistent, make that schedule, and keep serving people up with awesome value, and you'll be able to build up more and more of your income and digital business. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you next video. Bye.